All right, at this time, we are approaching your 9 o'clock. I do want to give you guys time to make closing statements, but I would ask you if you're willing to entertain a few questions from the crowd if we have any. So basically, you guys mind hanging out for a few extra minutes? Okay.
Does anybody have any questions? I get to hand out the microphone.
Don't be shy, folks. Step on up.
Hi, I just have a couple of comments first. For Mr. Robertson, I know that you commented on the state education budget, and no matter what shell game is being played in Lansing, I know that the school funding is less than it was 4 years ago. And that's being felt every day in the classrooms at Holly schools. I know that Mr. Graves, you made a comment about Holly getting a small extra nugget because they use best practice in their classrooms, and I'm curious if you know what best practice really entails. Separately from all of that, Holly area schools continue to compete academically with some of the top schools in the state of Michigan, but sadly our schools are struggling to afford basic maintenance for our buildings because of the funding. So my curiosity for our local candidates would be what is your stance on the building site sinking fund, since you're all Holly area school voters, and for our state level government officials, what is your thoughts on the inequity? I know we mentioned it once earlier, your thoughts on the inequity of funding and the budget cuts.
Thank you. We'll start, Mr. Rankin, we'll start with you and we'll work our way across.
As far as the sinking fund goes, I understand that our schools are severely underfunded. I, for one, am going to vote for the sinking fund. I don't think that $2 a month is something that should keep our kids from going to some of the best schools. They're already some of the best schools as far as the teachers and the staff. I'd like the facilities to match that sentiment.
I think the sinking fund is part of a larger issue with public education that it seems like we keep spending more money, but as parents and kids, we don't get improved test scores in schools. And I think that I have a philosophical difference with that in public education, which led me to part of the sending my child to a charter school. Even being a product of Holly schools, and my daughter will be going to Holly High School, I do think that there's a larger issue, and it's not with the school itself. We're talking about Lansing and the federal government. Implementing Common Core, all these things that are coming down that are requiring schools to spend more money, they're asking us to spend more. But I don't think that it's relaying in the test scores and our kids getting a better shot overall. So I would be voting no on the sinking fund millage coming in November.
I think we'd probably be here all night debating education policy and many things. To answer the question of if I support the sinking fund, I voted for it when it was on the ballot in the past, I'll be voting for it again. Even though I don't necessarily have a very luxurious, household budget, and like many residents in the school district community, sometimes every dollar counts, I think it's a worthwhile investment. And without opening the door too much, the summary of why I feel that is this. The topic of competition in education has come up. And like I said, we could have probably some wild debates all night on that. But I look at it this. If it's just a matter of measuring test scores and measuring performance, Holly area schools performs at a very high level and has very great achievement, especially considering the fact that many of our students are on, actually I think more than 50% or higher, are on free or reduced lunch, and education research throughout many years has shown that poverty and disadvantage in educational performance are strongly correlated. So if our students in the public schools are performing at or better than many other students in other districts, but our facilities aren't being kept up to par because of a lack of funding, then what is the choice being made on what school your kid goes to?
I will absolutely be voting yes.
I think for the lady that asked this question, she knows my position. When I came in the door tonight, I stopped and I asked them if they had a sign for my yard. But my bigger concern is, and I was disappointed to hear Dave say he'd be voting against it, my bigger concern is this. These buildings belong to us. The sinking fund is going to help us maintain these buildings. Vote no now. We don't get the money to maintain them now. We're going to have to fix them later. The bill doesn't get smaller. It only gets bigger. Maintenance is the way to go, and we've got to have the money to do that.
Small.
Ms. Corsival, short. You already know I'm in favor of the sinking fund. I brought it up earlier. As far as equity in funding for schools at the state level, it's a rather complex question, but when you look at what we have currently done and what's been done over the past few years, is taking the money that was supposed to be for K through 12 education and actually allocating some of it to higher ed. I would like to see it all go back to K through 12. I would also like for us to take a better look at how we determine how much a per pupil allowance should be, and let us strive very hard to make sure that that's what it is, not just because somebody comes up with a number. I have to tell you that I think our state school board needs to take more responsibility because they are in charge of the full state of education in Michigan, and I would like to see them take a more active role in that.
Thank you.
Thanks. I think it's a two-part question. The sinking fund. You know, the sinking fund is for transportation, busing and or technology. And technology today is not the same as it was 20 years ago when they developed the standard. So it progresses so rapidly now. We need a better way of doing it. And I'm not on any of those committees, but I've talked to various people who are, and I meet with the superintendents. I know David's here tonight. Once a month we talk about this. That discussion is ongoing this summer and this fall for next school year to change that, where technology won't have to go through the sinking fund to get funded. There'll be better ways of funding that to keep up with technology. If you want to get wireless in your building or iPads for the kids, whatever it is, that's the kind of stuff that we need to correct. And my understanding is they're working that, and I encourage them to continue working on it and get this fixed for next school year. The second question was on the best practices, and I want to memorize this. So you must get 7 of the 8 business practices to qualify, and I said Holly does qualify. District pays no more than the maximum amount allowed for health care. Competitively bid at least one non-instructional service. Offer school of choice. Measure student growth twice annually and report to the parents. Provide dual enrollment. Provide online learning. Provide a dashboard to parents and the community. And provide PE or health classes. So 7 of those 8, if you do that, you'll get best practice money. It's $52 per student.
If you want to drive real business and real community growth, put the money in education. Put it in education. Charter schools as a whole do not work. It is absolutely positively wrong to take money out of public education and put them in a private organization that don't have to abide by the same standards, the same structure, the same reporting. We have to support our teachers, our educators, and our facilities. Now, I'm graduated from Powers up in Flint, and we just built a new facility, but that was a religious for me and my family. My father was an educator in the Flint schools. My wife's an educator. And our family, it's either appliances, psychology, or education. But if we don't have strong education, that's the number one thing when companies come to an area, say, what's the education? And what's going on right now with the cut in special needs is every one of us should be ashamed of what's going on with the special needs kids and the health, the mental health of everyone. With the cut in the Special Olympics, social workers. My God, we have 4 social workers in Genesee County, when at one time we had 48. It's wrong. We need to make children our #1 priority, and we start with education.
Thank you. My comments earlier were intended to convey that over